Jason Michaels was born into wealth, the only child of Charles and Evelyn Michaels, owners of one of the largest real estate empires in the country. From golden cradles to private tutors, his childhood was sculpted in privilege. But the luxury came with a bitter twist of fate. When he was just 10, both his parents died, leaving him alone in a world too vast and cruel for a child to navigate. His father's younger brother, Uncle Raymond, stepped in. A charming, sharp man in his mid-30s, Raymond took over both the business and Jason's guardianship. He raised the boy like his own, giving him access to the best schools, guidance, and a semblance of family life. Raymond became a pillar in Jason's life, a father, mentor, and protector. Years passed, and Jason grew into a fine young man, poised to inherit the legacy his parents built. Along the way, he found love in a beautiful, enigmatic woman named Tasha. She was everything he thought he wanted: funny, smart, and supportive. Jason's closest friend, Eric, had been by his side since boarding school. They had been through everything together: fights, victories, heartbreaks. But nothing prepared him for the betrayal that would tear his world apart. One evening, returning early from a business trip, Jason entered his penthouse quietly. He had planned a surprise for Tasha, a weekend getaway to propose. But what he walked into shattered his reality. There, in his bedroom, Tasha and Eric, wrapped in each other's arms, oblivious to the world, to him. He didn't shout. He didn't even cry. He simply stood frozen, the ring box slipping from his hand and landing on the marble floor with a soft clink. They noticed too late. The look of horror on their faces said everything. Jason left that night without a word. For days, he didn't speak to anyone. He disappeared from the estate, from the company, from the life he knew. But pain often brings clarity. And as he sat alone in the guest house on one of the family's remote properties, he remembered something: his parents. He missed them so much. He has been alone since 10 years, but Uncle Raymond has been a father figure to him. Jason rebuilt himself in silence. The betrayal by Tasha and Eric had crushed him, but he refused to let it define him. With a hardened heart and sharpened focus, he reclaimed control of his life and his father's empire. Uncle Raymond, steady and supportive, stood by him like a rock. He was always there with wise counsel, protecting Jason from the ruthless world beyond the estate gates. A year after the scandal, Tasha came back. It was late evening when she showed up at his office, unannounced. Her eyes were red, mascara smudged. She looked nothing like the fierce woman who had stabbed him in the back. "Jason," she said, voice trembling. "I was stupid. I messed up. I miss you." He didn't flinch. He simply stood, hands in his pockets, and looked at her like she was a stranger. "I buried the version of me who loved you," he said quietly. "I won't dig him up again." Tasha wept, begged even. But Jason was done with the past. He didn't shout. He didn't gloat. He just turned and walked away, leaving her in that office with the weight of her own decisions. Life moved forward. In time, Jason met someone new, Amara, a graceful and intelligent woman with a calming spirit. She was nothing like Tasha. She didn't chase attention. She saw the man beyond the fortune, and slowly, Jason found love again. Real love. They got married in a quiet ceremony, away from the press, surrounded by only a handful of trusted people, including Uncle Raymond, who beamed with pride. A year later, Amara gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Ariel. For the first time in years, Jason felt whole. Complete. But peace is rarely permanent when enemies lurk in silence. Meanwhile, another snake was slithering through the grass: Dominic Wade. A powerful but ruthless businessman, Dominic had once been Charles Michaels' closest ally before their fallout. He believed Charles had stolen a major deal from him in the past, a move that cost him millions and his reputation. Now, Dominic saw Jason as the perfect target for revenge. Young, emotional, and alone, he was the weak link in the legacy Dominic had long wanted to destroy. Jason could feel the pressure mounting. Deals were falling through, board members were growing restless, and the media began whispering questions about his leadership. Still, he said nothing. He played the role. Observing. Wait. Tasha's heartbreak had curdled into hatred. She never forgave Jason for not taking her back. Seeing him happy with Amora and their daughter stirred a poisonous envy in her. In her mind, he had betrayed her by choosing someone else, by moving on, by thriving. So she reached out to the only other person who hated Jason as much as she did, Eric. Together, they schemed in the dark, spreading misinformation to business rivals, digging into Jason's financials, bribing insiders. They approached Dominic Wade, the old business enemy of Jason's late father, and formed a dangerous alliance. Their mission was simple: ruin Jason Michaels, his name, his business, and his legacy. Jason began noticing subtle signs. Contracts suddenly falling through. His private plans leaking to the press. People he trusted turning cold. But he didn't panic. He remembered the lessons his father taught him, and the quiet, ever-present guidance of Uncle Raymond. Jason could feel the pressure mounting. Deals were falling through, board members were growing restless, and the media began whispering questions about his leadership. Still, he said nothing. He played the role. Observing. Waiting. It was raining the night everything changed. Jason was returning from a late business dinner when his car swerved unexpectedly. He stepped on the brakes, but nothing. No resistance. The car accelerated on its own, tires screeching across the wet asphalt. Within seconds, the headlights caught a figure crossing the road. Jason tried to turn the wheel, but it was too late. The crash was loud. The silence afterward, louder. By the time the police arrived, Jason was dazed, shaken, and unable to speak. A man had died instantly. But that wasn't the worst of it. During the inspection of the car, officers uncovered 2 packages, one filled with cocaine, the other with heroin, stuffed under the driver's seat. Jason was stunned. He had never touched drugs in his life. It didn't matter. The damage was done. News spread like wildfire: billionaire air kills man, found with narcotics in vehicle. Social media exploded. News anchors painted him as a reckless addict living above the law. Protesters gathered outside his estate. The government froze his assets and launched a full investigation. Within days, Jason Michaels, the once celebrated golden boy, was dragged in handcuffs through the courthouse. His wife, Amora, cried through every second of the hearings, clutching their daughter as paparazzi swarmed them. Uncle Raymond moved fast, hiring the best lawyers, speaking on Jason's behalf, defending him in public. But the evidence was too perfect. Too planned. The brake failure. The drugs. Witness testimonies forged with precision. Someone had orchestrated this. Still, the justice system didn't wait for the truth. Jason was sentenced to 12 years in prison for manslaughter and possession of illegal drugs with intent to distribute. The courtroom echoed with gasps. Amora broke into tears. Even Raymond, usually composed, wiped his eyes. In the final moments before being taken away, Jason pulled Uncle Raymond aside. "Please, take care of Amora and Ariel," he said, voice trembling. "Make sure they're safe." "I swear on everything, I will," Raymond said, gripping his shoulders. "I'll protect them with my life." Jason hugged his wife with tears one last time as Ariel cried in her mother's arms. Then the gates closed behind him. Prison was a cold, cruel world. Jason kept to himself, broken and betrayed once more. But every week, without fail, Amora and Uncle Raymond visited him. They brought pictures, letters from Ariel, updates on the world outside. Until one day, they didn't. The visit stopped. Their number stopped going through. No letters. No messages. Nothing. Jason waited. A week passed. Then a month. And another. Something was wrong. The silence felt worse than the cell bars around him. And deep down, he feared this was only the beginning of a much darker betrayal. Prison days were long. Cold. Repetitive. Jason had once signed multi-million-dollar contracts and dined with world leaders. Now, his days were filled with the sound of metal doors slamming and the echo of guards yelling through corridors. He spent most of his time in silence, refusing to let prison change the core of who he was. But the isolation was heavy. Letters from his wife had stopped. No pictures of Ariel. No word from Uncle Raymond. Every visitation day, Jason waited by the iron bars. And every time, he was left alone, staring at the empty hallway, heart sinking deeper. One rainy afternoon in the prison yard, Jason met a man who would change everything. His name was Marcus Skull Denzel, a tattooed, broad-shouldered ex-hitman known in the underworld as someone you didn't cross. He had once run a feared syndicate, responsible for dozens of deaths. But now, older, quieter, and carrying regrets like scars, Marcus was different. Their first conversation was brief. "You're the rich boy who didn't do it, right?" Marcus asked, sitting beside Jason on the concrete bench. Jason didn't respond at first. "Doesn't matter," Marcus continued. "This place don't care if you're guilty or not. It eats everyone the same." Over time, Marcus took a liking to Jason. Not because of his wealth, but because of his quiet pain. "You walk like a man who's lost more than freedom," Marcus once said, tossing Jason a piece of bread. "I know that walk. I carried it for years." They talked daily after that. Marcus shared stories from his past, about the lives he took, the darkness he once embraced, and how losing his own wife and child to gang violence made him rethink everything. He spoke of nights spent awake, begging God for forgiveness. "I got blood on my hands I can't wash off," Marcus would say. "But maybe helping you, maybe that's something." For Jason, Marcus became a strange kind of anchor. A mirror of what bitterness could turn a man into, and a reminder of what he didn't want to become. But even with Marcus's company, the loneliness crushed him. Every time he saw other inmates hugging their wives or laughing with their children during visits, his heart ached. He would turn his face to the wall and let silent tears fall, whispering Ariel's name like a prayer. "Why they stop coming?" he asked Marcus one day. Marcus stared at the barred window, jaw clenched. "You ever think, maybe it's not that they forgot you? Maybe someone made them forget?" Jason's head snapped toward him. That thought had crossed his mind, but hearing someone else say it made it real. He didn't respond. He just stared ahead. Eyes burning. Heart racing. Something wasn't right. And if Marcus was correct, the betrayal he feared might not be over. It might have just begun.
Who planned it all? Who are you suspecting? Drop your answer at the comment section.